And then we will go to number 20.
Thank you.
Sutter County Board of Supervisors use of City Council chambers, presented by Diana. Welcome.
Thank you, Carol. All right. This item is the a joint use agreement between Sutter County and Yuba City for the use of the council chambers. So as background, Sutter County Interim Administrator Steve Smith, who's here in the audience tonight, approached the city regarding the need for a facility that is furnished with the equipment and amenities necessary for them to broadcast and record their public meetings. So this would be related to the Board of Supervisor meetings and their Planning Commission. I will say this item dates back even further than that, though. This is something that the county and the city, there were discussions related to this going back, as far as I know, 2007. I'm not sure prior to that, but this is something that's been kind of hanging out there for a little while. So in the staff report, there's a joint use agreement in which some of the items noted in the joint use agreement is that the county will develop additional parking in the vacant area south of City Hall within 6 months of the effective date of the agreement, and they've actually are starting that contract. County staff would be trained on the audio and visual equipment necessary to record the meeting so that they could operate it themselves. The county would make intermittent, temporary cosmetic alterations to properly identify the facility as the meeting place for the Board of Supervisors. And so this would be related to covering the seal that's behind the dais with a county seal. I know there's been a lot of discussions back and forth in terms of, placing signage on the front of the council chambers that are identified as the Board of Supervisors chambers. That is, my understanding is that the county understands that that would not be recommended by the city, nor changes to the signage on these glass wall between the foyer and the council chambers, that these would truly be intermittent, temporary alterations to identify the county meetings during the time of the meeting. And then another important factor is that either party may terminate the agreement upon 60 days prior written notice. In terms of fiscal impact, the county would pay $1,000 a month. $500 would go to the Technology Replacement Fund, and $500 would go to City Hall Facility Maintenance Fund, as our custodians would be maintaining the facility. So with that, the recommendation is to authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with Sutter County for the use of the council chambers for 2 Board of Supervisor meetings and 2 Planning Commission meetings per month. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the dais? Any public comment? All right, none in both directions. I'll entertain a motion.
Oh, actually, I was waiting to see if there was any comments from the
Okay,
public.
go ahead.
So, through the mayor. Ms. Langley, I know in the proposed agreement, it proposes that they would be allowed to change the decor of the chambers 1 day ahead and 1 day after is when it'd have to be put back to normal. We run into a lot of situations to where we use these chambers. These are our city chambers. We use them for a lot of different ceremonies and whatnot. I think the 1 day is a little much because we may have something going on the prior. I think 3 or 4 hours before and then come down following is more apropos because that keeps the facilities to where we can utilize them and not be set up for the county. I think it's important for us to work together with the county and show some work there, but I do have some concerns, as you stressed. I was the one that asked you those questions. And I'd like, Mr. Smith, could you come to the podium, please? Thank you. We have had conflicting information from the Board of Supervisors and yourself. Can you tell me what your intent is on rebranding City Hall for the County Board of Supervisors and the Planning Commission's meetings?
Certainly, Honorable Mayor and Council, thank you. Steve Smith, Interim County Administrator, Sutter County. I think some of that conflicting information just came from when staff, probably with the city and county. We're just discussing options of things that we could do, like putting the sticker type signs up or a picture of the board. But I know the supervisors are flexible, as am I, and you know, if we can come in and have some kind of lightweight signage, which I think we already have, that can fit over the seal, and maybe possibly something here as well, I think that would be it, and we could remove it after. And I would also think that, and I want to make sure, so we'll come and have our staff look at it, though, that it would be something that would be easily removable, and somehow, if there were some situation where our staff couldn't get here, that it would be pretty easy for city or almost anyone at lightweight that could move it, and that but we'd respectfully try to match in any of the requests that the city has, and then we could see if the joint usage would work in the best interest of the city and the county, and then it would be up to the board and council on the long term to decide how that's working.
Okay, I've got a couple more questions, and the main thing I want to clarify is that we do not confuse the public, because with using the same chambers, you're going to have people showing up. Is it a county meeting? Is it a city meeting? Is it a planning meeting? Is it, our planning meeting? Which meeting is going on in the chambers at the time? And the reason I ask those questions is 2 weeks ago, standing right here in the front row after the meeting, you indicated that the county was looking at how they could attach things to the brick out front.
Right.
So I want to be really crystal clear. I am absolutely, utterly opposed to that. Temporary is temporary. And I don't mind like you said, branding up here, branding there, changing out, and we share the chambers so that you can get your word out. But nothing permanent going on the exterior of our building, and branding a city building as a county building, more or less. And I want to be real clear. Is that your intent or not? Because that's what you told me here 2 weeks ago.
Right. No, that was just a discussion of possibilities, or if there is in the future a long-term arrangement. We had talked about putting something out there similar to the council chambers, and then board chambers, and maybe the county paying for a seal of each that would look nice and it'd be together. But I understand since then, with the request for to not have something that, even though that could be removed, I get it, it could cause some markings on the building or something. So yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Okay, so that's something you're not going to pursue. I want to be crystal clear.
Right, we're not going to pursue that.
Okay. And would the county be fine with going up a few hours before the meeting and coming down after the meeting? Because we do use these chambers.
Sure. I would just need to see logistically how we're doing that and moving. I mean, a lot of meetings, if I were here, I could probably remove it myself. So, yeah, but it makes sense to me, and I just need to talk to our staff on, we usually have someone here from IT, like typically at county meetings, we have someone from IT that's working in our basement to record the broadcast and the meeting. And they come up and close everything up. So typically we have someone at every meeting that does that. I can just confirm and then make sure that they're able to, because they come and open the current chambers and also close. So I don't see why they couldn't do the same here.
And what's the long-term plan? Because this has been in the works for over a decade.
Sure.
Talk back and forth. Quite honestly, you have more capacity where you're at. You have a larger overflow room where you're at. What is the long-term plans for the county? Is this, you looking at this being starting as temporary and being permanent, or is this just a temporary until you do the improvements to your building or develop the Kmart building? Can you help me explain what the long-term plan of the county is?
Sure. I think that's really up to the board and council, well, mainly the council being in ownership of the city being in ownership of this building. So we have thoughts on different locations for a future construction or remodel. Perhaps even, Whitaker Hall could be a good location for the county, or sorry, not Whitaker, the Vets Memorial Hall here could be a good location for board chambers, but it's, I guess, a matter of priority on construction and capital projects, and I don't see that happening in the near term. So My thought is, and maybe not exactly what the board feels, but I'll tell you, my thought is that if this arrangement doesn't work, then it could be an amicable parting of ways. But if it does work, then great, and we're able to collaborate on something. So I don't think there would be any hard feelings either way, and that we could see if this would be a good collaboration.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
That's all the questions I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I don't know if I'm on or not.
Through the mayor, Councilman Shaw asked some of the similar questions that I had in mind, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Help me understand then if the county has been considering looking for a particular location to hold supervisor meetings since 2007. Where did the idea arrive that the city council chambers was the best option of all the opportunities that the county has?
I don't know the extended history of it. My understanding is that supervisors have spoken with people on the council at various times about it, and that's how it came up. So I don't know that it was a staff idea.
Yeah, I was approached by supervisors asking to use the chamber, but it was not a particular idea that came from me to utilize the chamber. So, having been here for a few months, there's some historical data that I'm not clear about, because if the opportunity to develop locations that were mentioned, Kmark or another location, what's the plan? I like more a defined thought of, hey, we need a year, we need 2 years at the most. What's the particular time frame that you're actually asking us?
Right. I'm not asking for a particular time frame. As I mentioned previously, this was an idea that had come up. I know the city and county looked at it last that I recall in early 2017, but nothing materialized. And from what I understand, supervisors and council members had discussed it again. We're bringing this up as an opportunity to explore collaborating here, and the county would be paying an amount to the city to help fund for building and maintenance and technology replacement, as mentioned. And if something were to not work out, then the county could continue hosting meetings in the Hall of Records.
What is the challenges at the Hall of Records that is concerning you and the supervisors from not continuing meetings there and wanting to use the chambers here?
I don't have concerns. I think it's more a matter of having a more centralized location by the government center, and we currently stream meetings, and we're going to be able to have that technology here pretty cheaply as well. So we would be looking at replacing equipment over the next couple of years as well, cameras and upgraded audio and video. So I don't think there's any particular concern there. I think it was more of a collaboration between the county and the city to see if something like this would work out and could be beneficial to both sides.
Right. I totally agree on the idea of working together and collaborating. Sometimes space use can be challenging. I'm not sure if we've had the last 5 months, 5.5 months, I've had several closed session meetings that have kind of one after the other. And so I don't know if there would be conflicting times and because of existing other obligations that could delay some of that process if we were looking at those things in the future. And who knows, hopefully things will settle with where we're having not as many of those, but not able to predict the future on that. So I'm willing to entertain the idea, but I really am hoping that we have a time frame to kind of say, hey, is this working? Is it not working? You know, kind of we revisit the terms of agreement. You know, if it's 6 months or a year from now, and say, is this working for us or isn't it working? And you know, is it time to take a look at another option? And maybe some other really good development opportunities will come through the county that you'll say, hey, we're ready to move out. So that's kind of the direction that I'm leading at this moment. Thank you.
Through the mayor, thank you, Mr. Smith, for joining us this evening. I want to speak enthusiastically in support of this. I think anytime that governmental agencies can get together and perhaps help each other, I think it's a good thing. I don't see with the discussions that have occurred between you and our staff and in regards to signage, et cetera, and I know some of the concerns there. I think those have been addressed. I've traveled up and down the state in my former position as a fire chief, and there's all kinds of regional governmental centers. And so I think joint use is something that's common rather than uncommon, or more common than not anyway. This chambers is used by Sutter Butte's Flood Control Agency, our Parks and Rec Commission, Planning Commission. I mean, it's used a lot, and I think we can plan around those things. It should be used by the public. The public paid for it, and when it sits here empty, I think it does make sense to share where sharing can be. We're doing that with our fireworks, which we'll talk about later this evening. I'm all about efficiency. This makes sense. Ms. Miller talked about the cost. You're sharing in the cost through your rent, I guess. That will help offset some of the costs for some of this AV equipment that we need to have, and certainly you'll be able to use. So I'm all for it. I don't see any downside, and if there is a downside, I trust that between you and our interim city manager, or if need be, at our council to the board, we'll be able to hammer that out, or we'll separate friendly. So I appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're good. All right. Well, now I will step in and just echo what Mark just said: is enthusiastic support, the collaboration, the partnership, the relationship, the efficiencies. It seems to be a win-win. Schedules, we can always work through that. And I look forward to doing that with you. I'll just cut it short and say I think it's a great thing.
Thank you. You want to add one more?
Well, we have one more addition over here.
Sorry. I think that one of the things that benefits the city of Yuba City on this too, because you're looking for a win-win, is how many times have I come into this parking lot for a meeting and I cannot find parking. I'm parking over at the Veterans Center with your choice to go ahead and improve the parking lot, improve continuity so that we can walk from that parking lot. I think that's a win-win for the city as well. So I meant to mention that earlier, and look forward to that as a benefit of this collaboration.
One more example of a good gesture on the county's behalf. So we appreciate that, sir.
Through the mayor, follow-up question. Mr. Smith, don't read me wrong that I'm against it. I just got a ton of questions. I thought of two more that came up because we've got it. The agreement is open-ended on the lot, and we trust our interim city manager to take care of and do what's in the best interest of the city. The two things that come up is if there's a scheduling conflict, who takes priority? If we have something, Ms. Langley, if we have something come up that is, we have a special closed session, something that comes up and it conflicts with the county, do we have to punt or do we take priority? That would be my first question. It's just logistics is really what I'm getting to.
I can speak, or if you'd like, Diana.
She's flipping through the agreement. Maybe I missed it or whatnot.
I believe, and it'd be great if she can verify that the city has preference when it comes to conflicting meetings, and that other than our normal scheduled meeting, which is opposite weeks of the city's, and we meet at 3:00. So other than those set meetings and with the Planning Commission, which we were working out, if the county wanted to say, hey, we'd like to have a special meeting on something, but you're looking at the same dates, you would take preference. the city would.
Just verifying. And the last question that I had, I know like tonight, it was, mind you, it was here for a presentation, but our police officers were here. The county's been no different than any other government agencies. You've had issues over at the current location where you've had to have the sheriff's department out there or whatnot with everything from homeless people. There was incidences over there. Are we going to incur additional cost if the security is going to be needed here, or is that going to be the responsibility of the county when you're having your meetings here?
Right, a county responsibility, and we have a deputy provided by the sheriff at every meeting. And then in addition, sometimes the sheriff or other staff are there as well. And then on issues that we think may attract a large crowd or people that have very strong, opinions on things like we've had in the past with State of Jefferson or marijuana, or things that tend to pack the place, we also request additional sheriff's security. So yeah, it'll be a county responsibility.
Okay. I do agree that we need to work together. I do trust in the contract that, as Councilmember Boomgarden said, if it doesn't work, 60 days, either party, we say this did not work, I'm willing to go forward on a, let's see how it works. So thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Would you like to go ahead and just make a motion since you're on a roll?
Well, to the,
All right,
to the mayor.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make staff's recommendation of Sutter County Board of Supervisors using the city council chambers. It's there.
Motion to approve staff's recommendation, is what you're
Well, that's what I
saying?
said, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.